Remember last year when you bought a ticket to The Hobbit, expecting to see Dragon, but you were only teased by it? We're here tonight at Brennan Theaters watching The Hobbit, Desolation of Smaug. I laugh because we had a huge powwow about Smaug, Smaug, you're dumb, I'm right. So you can say it's Smaug, Smaug, it's a dragon that is badass. This movie is 2.5 hours long, or 2 hours and 40 some odd minutes long. It's long. There is a good payoff in the end, but also keep in mind it's a part 2 of a trilogy, so don't expect a closure ending. Movie had great acting, had great visual effects, had great music, all the above. There were a couple of parts though with some of the effects I felt they kind of were like, oh, we forgot about that, let's fix it. And it looked a little rushed, kind of like, it doesn't quite look like Middle Earth how it should be. Benedict Cumberbatch is a phenomenal pick for voice of a dragon that's kind of like, I'm God. I own this mountain. I stole your gold. Nothing you can do about it because I'll just burn the out of you and destroy everything that I want. Be as he may, there is a chink in his armor, and that's what I want to know what's going to happen because they tease you with it a little bit, and you're just kind of like, I want to see! Gotta wait till next year though. Damn you, Peter Jackson. Movie's a great thrill ride. There are some stuff they could cut out here and there, unless it does play an important part in the third one, which I hope it does, because I really hate it when movies give you an abundance of stuff and then they never come back to it. It's just like, and yes, in case anybody's wanting to know, they do have great tie-ins and little tidbits connecting into Lord of the Rings. If you've seen those, you'll pick up on them, and that, I thank you for. All in all, this movie is a 9.5 out of 10. My only of that 0.5 is I'm bashing on some of the visuals, but you know what? It's a heavy visual effects movie, so I'm not gonna be like, oh my god, you vlog looks so fake. Also, we're gonna have a little link right here. Me and my cousin a few years ago did a little Lord of the Rings video, so we're gonna put that in there. I know that the graphic quality of it's bad because, well, back then everyone was like, whatever, it's YouTube. So check that out if you'd like. To see what our guests had to say about The Hobbit, let's check that out. Let's talk about the dragon.
I felt the dragon was pretty well done. It was a more interesting voice than Sean Connery's dragon voice. It was really interesting to see how big it is in contrast to that room. I didn't expect it to be wrapping around things and huge. So, but it was a pretty fun thing to watch, a dragon running around dwarves.
Makes you wonder how the dwarves even
built all that stuff.
Like,
yeah, it's pretty big.
It was well done. It was larger than life, like it should be. Good voice acting, good CG overall with the dragon. The scope of it, just destroying everything in its wake, was really well done. It's exactly what you want it to be.
They did a phenomenal job with the dragon. Larger than life, voice acting, great, and just the sheer overwhelming size and power of the dragon, the kind of toying with Bilbo there, and the kind of the playing that I felt like he did was really cool.
Some of the special effects and whatnot, were they good, on par? Were kind of,
There were a couple scenes where you can tell that they kind of cut corners, but it doesn't take away from the overall feel of the movie. Those scenes are still fantastic. You're still at the edge of your seat. You still want to know what's going to happen. It doesn't break the movie at all. There's just a couple moments where I'm kind of like, it's not really up to the standards you usually see in these giant budget movies. But when you think about the number of special effects in this movie, they had to cut somewhere. They just had to.
I didn't really notice how bad everybody is saying they were. I go to the movies to enjoy the movie, and I did enjoy this movie, and I thought everything about the parts that you were saying the special effects were bad were very fun parts of the movie.
I love the special effects. I love the Middle Earth, just in general. The CG in this movie, I think, goes far and above compared to a lot of the other Lord of the Rings. I mean, they've really exponentially upped the amount of CG that goes into a lot of their scenes, and so it's impressive, I think.
the story progression. How'd you feel about the 2 hours and
It's
40
a filler
minutes?
movie. It's a filler movie, but it was a good filler movie. I thought it was fun. I thought it was a good story. I enjoy everything that Lord of the Rings and whatnot, so I enjoyed it. It was a good, fun movie.
This is the way I look at the story progression on The Hobbit. It's one book being made into 3 movies. If you're not expecting things to get drug out, I don't know what you're expecting because it's one book made into 3 movies. It's gonna be drug out. They're adding a lot of filler in there to link the movie to Lord of the Rings, which technically the book was written before Lord of the Rings. A lot of stuff's gonna get added. I don't feel any of it's bad. I'm entertained by it all. I like seeing different parts of the world. That world is fascinating to me, but it is definitely stretched.
It kind of suffers a little bit, but that's just being the middle movie. You don't really have, you know, the finalization of being the third movie, and it doesn't have the beginning, so you're kind of left with this middle ground where they have to kind of stop and start. So there's not much you can do about that, but it's still, you know, the second or third movie, so I think you feel that.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
I give it an 8.5.
I give it a 9.5. I loved it, but might be a little bit biased because I love Lord of the Rings. So anything that pretty much goes in with that, I'll watch and I love.
I actually give it a 9. And the only reason I give it a 9 instead of a 10 is because it has movie middle-itis, where you're starting the story where the first one left off and you're ending the story where the third one will pick up. It leaves you in a middle ground, filling in gaps to see, you know, you're not starting the story, you're not ending the story. So that's the only reason it loses the point in my mind. But there's nothing they could have done about that because it's a trilogy. Overall, the movie is fantastic. If you liked any of the Lord of the Rings, the original first Hobbit movie, seeing this is a no-brainer. It was great.
Go on ahead and shoot us comments down below. Like it, subscribe, favorite if you haven't already. And next week, we are bringing you Anchorman. Hopefully this will make me laugh because number 1 did not. Other than that, we're letting you know before you go at Brendan Theaters. But that's okay because for the overall payoff in the end with Smaug, damn it, with Smaug. I'm sorry. The overall payoff with Smaug in the end. I'm trying to say it right. It's the way you say it. You sound like a bloody Brit. The way Smaug in the end. Van Damme.